It is time to talk travel. Welcome to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. Coming up on today's show, we will be talking about big, and I mean huge, plans for Sandals Resort in Jamaica. Avalon Waterways, a river cruising company in Europe, announces a fleet-wide refurbishment of all of their rooms. Rocky Mountaineer is changing its name to, we'll tell you during the show, and vacations on cruising to and around Mexico. Let's start the show. The Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, contains travel deals, promotions, and offers that may be time sensitive. All offers and information were accurate when the show aired. Travel deals and offers change constantly and are capacity controlled and subject to change without notice.
Helping you plan your next vacation. This is the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Call us now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700, and check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. Here's Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
Vacation Patrick is in full mode. Welcome to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. Hello there. My name is Patrick Wiscombe alongside my good friend Mark Faldmo. It is time to talk travel. And the entire purpose of this show is to help you. We want you to become part of the show so you can plan and book your next vacation, or we can give you ideas of where you want to vacation next. And this show is presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. And if you have travel-related questions, we want you to be part of the show. Text your travel-related questions right now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700. And a sincere thank you for taking the time to stop and listen. Whether it's on the radio or you are podcasting us just a little bit later. Mark, Vacation Patrick is officially in the building, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm jealous for you. You have a big adventure coming up.
I don't know how many people go on 4 consecutive cruises, and I do mean back to back to back to back, and we only have 2 days off on cruise number 4 between cruise 3 and cruise 4. How common is that?
I don't think 4 is that common. Several people do back-to-back, just 2 cruises. I've done that several times, but never back-to-back-to-back-to-back. Never four cruises. I've never seen that before.
I am in Fort Lauderdale doing the show from the hotel. Mark is back in Salt Lake engineering the entire broadcast. Coming up this week, Nikki and I will be jumping on Celebrities Ascent, going to the Caribbean. And then I have to keep them in order. Holland America, also going to different ports in the Caribbean. And then the third one, which I will see you down here for MSC's World America. And then cruise number 4 is the brand new ship from Norwegian Cruise Line, Aqua. 2 of the 4 cruises literally are going on their inaugural sailing. I can't believe that this is a reality right now.
It's quite amazing that you're going to do that and get that experience.
You will be down here in, 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks.
And your plans for MSC World America, you're part of the media tour, and there will be a lot of press, not only print and regular press, but there will be a lot of YouTube press on MSC's World America.
Yeah, there will be. It's going to be an amazing ship.
We have some awesome cruising deals for listeners coming up in the infamous Just Cruising segment. But let's start the show by getting to the travel news headlines. Anytime Delta makes news, it usually impacts Salt Lake in a good way. Delta has announced that they will be adding more Hawaii service from Salt Lake City. This is great news for us.
Starting late fall next year, we'll add a seasonal route from Salt Lake City to Kona on the Big Island.
Oh.
They'll have their daily nonstop service from Honolulu. They'll have their seasonal service, Salt Lake to Maui. And
Did you say that one is seasonal?
That one
Salt
is
Lake to
seasonal.
Maui? Okay.
It doesn't operate year round.
Okay.
It operates during the winter months, and then they'll add this Salt Lake to Kona route, which I'm excited for.
If you have listened to this show even a little bit in the last year and a half, you know that Mark and I, are big train people. So I found this announcement kind of interesting that Rocky Mountaineer, the train company, is going to rebrand their Denver to Moab, that they're going to rebrand that particular line.
They are, yep. So the new name, the actual train name, will be the Canyon Spirit. The itinerary will still be the Red Rocks to Rockies, but it will be Canyon Spirit will be the brand that operates that. So they're going to keep the Rocky Mountaineer in the Canadian Rockies, so that will remain the same. And they're just renaming their U.S. train to the Canyon Spirit train. And also another exciting thing for those of us here in Salt Lake City, they have extended the route. So it will go between Denver and Salt Lake City. It'll be that original route, which goes to Moab, but then from Moab, it'll go up to Salt Lake City.
Oh, whoa. Hold on. So it's not just Denver to Moab. It's now Denver to Moab, Moab to Salt Lake City.
To Salt Lake City. Yep.
Oh.
Yep. So those of us in Salt Lake, we'll be able to board that train in Salt Lake City and end up in Denver.
I would be just fine with that.
I would. Yeah.
You went on it August 2024 and you loved it.
On that. I loved it. Yep. And, actually next week, it's exciting. We have August Font, who's the sales manager for Rocky Mountaineer and now the Canyon Spirit. Next week, we have a whole interview that's going to be talking about the whole company, the routes, and his favorite routes.
Always in the first segment of the show, we've got the destination of the week. You didn't know that this was one of my favorite things, is filming locations. You can go visit all of these locations where popular films have been shot. You can jump on an airplane and go visit all these locations. And that's our destination of the week. What are the details?
This is a trend. It's called set jetting around to different film sets. And I've actually had several people asked to do this. This particular segment is going to be about the UK, but there's also a similar trend in Hawaii and other places in Europe. Great Britain and Ireland have several different places where films are made, and they've actually kicked off a campaign. So Visit Britain has a campaign called Showcase Britain, highlighting all of the different movie sets and places you can go around Britain. Probably the one that's most requested by me, I've arranged several people's Europe tours around this, are things around Harry Potter.
Of course, yeah.
On that, but the Warner Brothers Harry Potter studio right there in London is a whole tour that has the movie set of Harry Potter.
That show, J.K. Rowling, it amazes me that she got all of that entire story out of her head. It's amazing that she even came up with it, let alone put it down on paper and with such vivid details. It's unbelievable.
It is. Yeah. Quite amazing. And this is one I have not done. I've sent several people on but I want to do that. It's the Scottish Highlands and Jacobite steam train.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is the famous scenes from Harry Potter with the steam train going over the Glenfinnan Viaduct, aka the Harry Potter Bridge.
Oh, and that gigantic thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that is a tour that I absolutely want to do. One thing, it's a train. I love trains. And then, being in the Scottish Highlands is pretty amazing. I have several people that just go to Edinburgh, stay for a few days, do that train, which is a full day train. Other popular things in UK and Great Britain, there's a lot of period dramas that take place there. Downton Abbey tours.
Nikki would love that one.
They had their full day tours. They see the Cotswolds and different places from Downton Abbey. Bridgerton that you can do. In London, there's a Sherlock Holmes walking tour.
Those two movies were sneaky good.
Other things, there's Titanic Experience Museum in the area. And there's also a Secrets of the Titanic walking tour that you can do.
Would that be underwater?
That would be underwater. Yeah.
What other tours? Assuming that there are more.
There's several more. I'm only grazing the top of this. Probably the most popular ones are the ones I would be interested in. This next tour, And I've done this or a version of this, and it's in Oxford. It's the C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien tour in Oxford. So it goes around to all the places that they visited. They're in Oxford, in Christchurch College. That's also a Harry Potter scene. That's the dining room scene.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Christchurch College.
Mm-hmm.
But also that whole room is filled with the imagery from Alice in Wonderland. You go in there, there's a whole stained glass window in there that's just for Alice in Wonderland. And then all of the imagery that's around there from those authors. It's very interesting to see. So, that's definitely a tour that you should do.
Is there an opportunity to go to platform 9 3/4?
Yeah, there's several tours in London that actually do that. There's a Harry Potter walking tour that includes that. There's also a Harry Potter tour by London Taxi, so they're black cabs go around and do that. One that I want to do, because I absolutely love this movie, there is a Paddington Bear tour. Walk around, see some of those places. A few weeks ago, went and saw the newest Paddington with Heather, and we absolutely loved it.
There's just something magical about the movies. And then going and seeing the places and recalling where the actual movie took place. It's just kind of fun to see that. When you can put the movie in the location, just kind of fun. Yeah. If you are interested in doing a UK jet setting or a set jetting, I got that backwards. Call Mark in his office. Just get the conversation started, get the information you need. No obligation. 888-718-7717. 888-718-7717. When we come back, we've got the hot travel deal of the week, and we are going to, where are we? We're going to Mexico. And we've got some great cruising deals. No. Actually, these are the hotel deals, aren't they?
They are hotel deals. Yeah.
Okay. That is next when the Inside Travel Talk podcast or radio show continues. Alongside Mark Faldmo, my name is Patrick Wiscombe. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your weekend. We will be back in about 2 minutes.
If you have travel questions, they have the answers. You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show with Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. Call or text the show right now. 801-649-3700. 801-649-3700. We'll be right back.
Inside Travel Talk is brought to you by AMA Waterways. From castles and capitals to vistas and villages, visit some of Europe's most remarkable sites and cities. To set out on your own river cruise journey, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com.
You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700, and check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. Here's Patrick and Mark.
Welcome back inside of the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. Hello there. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your weekend, whether you're listening to us on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Mountain or on Sunday at 11 o'clock Mountain. Coming up in this segment of the show, we will be talking about the hot travel deal of the week, and this week we are going to Mexico. We've got a good deal to get down to Mexico, but let's first get to the travel news headlines of the week. And just as we transition over, let me just extend an invitation to all of our listeners. We want to answer your travel related questions. So call or text the studio right now, 801-649-3700. 801-649-3700. We want to answer your travel-related questions. Okay, let's get to the travel news. This was a big announcement by Beaches Resort. This is in Jamaica, correct? I've got the right beaches?
It's in the Caribbean.
Yeah, okay.
Sandals and Beaches Resorts are going to invest nearly $1 billion to expand the Beaches brand.
Okay.
So there's the Sandals brand, which is the adults only, all-inclusive. And then there's Beaches Resorts, which is the all-inclusive family brand. And so they are going to really expand that family brand in the Caribbean. They've announced new resorts in Barbados, in Exuma, which is the Bahamas, Runaway Bay in Jamaica, and they are going to convert one of their current Sandals resorts into a Beaches resort in Jamaica. They're going to build new hotels, convert a few existing hotels, family travel, which we'll actually see later on in this segment. We have a family travel vacation, but it's something that has been a little bit not thought through in the travel world. It's been harder when you have larger families to travel. And so these resorts are going to be designed for families. They're going to have accommodations that will hold more per room and really try and get family travel to the Caribbean islands.
Have you ever stayed at a Sandals Resorts or Beaches Resorts before?
I have never stayed at a Beaches resort, but I've stayed in a Sandals resort twice. I've stayed at the Sandals in Bahamas just this past January for a meeting that I was at. And then Heather and I...
Was that a Sandals resort when you were there?
That was at a Sandals resort.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. And then Heather and I stayed at the Sandals Montego Bay in Jamaica a few years back.
Generally speaking, very nice resorts, though. Picturesque.
They are. Yep.
Okay. Avalon Waterways has announced a fleet-wide refresh of the ships. Now, I know that your favorite rooms when you cruise on the river is Avalon Waterways because the bed actually faces the window. Were you surprised that they were announcing a fleet-wide refresh?
Every cruise line is always making sure they're up to date with the styles and everything like that. So they're going to upgrade the decor throughout all of the public spaces.
Oh.
Make it more modern. They are going to improve the internet connectivity. They're going to add a second Starlink antenna to each ship, so that'll help the internet connectivity. They're going to redesign the sky deck. That's something I'm interested in because on most river cruise ships, it's just a blank deck up there and they put deck chairs. They have to be able to take all of that down to get underneath some of the bridges. So there's not a lot they can do, but I'll be interested to see what they do with that sky deck area. They're going to enhance the observation lounge, upgrade the fitness facilities, and then they're also they're adding more to their fleet of bicycles. That's one thing that's nice about a river cruise. They have bicycle tours. And so you can get off and cycle through the little villages you stop in. So each ship is going to get 15 new bikes plus 4 new e-bikes per ship.
Have you ever experienced an electric bike before?
I have not. No.
Dude, they are some of the most amazing experiences. Did you know that I have an e-bike?
I do. Yeah, I did see that when I was at your house once.
Yeah, 5,600 miles on that bike. The tires are literally worn out. I'm not trying to talk about my fitness. If they're adding e-bikes, that's kind of interesting.
So they are going through the full fleet-wide upgrade. This is going to be over the next year or two as they do that. They'll do a couple ships here at the end of 2025, a couple in 2026, to get them all upgraded to these standards that they want to be at.
You know what's interesting to me? You mentioned how low the bridges are, and the bridge of the ship literally sinks into the middle of the ship so they can clear and get under those bridges. It's wild to see.
It is.
Let's get to the hot travel deal of the week, which is a text that we received during the last break. This is from, who is this from? Sharon, she says that she wants to take her family to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, and she is asking, is the fall an okay time to go, and is there a room that would hold a family of 5? The answer is, I believe so.
Yes, and yes.
Yes.
Fall is a good time to go. I would go later in the year. She particularly asked for late October. which I think is a great time to go. It's not as humid there. You're just, starting to get a little bit cooler temperatures. It's always warm in Puerto Vallarta, but a little bit lower temperatures, a little bit lower humidity. One thing she says, a room that will hold a family of 5. As we talked about with the previous story about beaches, kind of expanding that family travel, it's always been hard to find rooms that will hold 5. There are several hotels will allow 5 in a room, but they might just have 1 king bed or 2 twin beds, which doesn't really
that doesn't help.
Doesn't help for a family of 5. And so, I've gone through and I found 3 places that do have good bedding for a family of 5. So you don't have to get a rollaway.
In the Wiscombe family, it was called Patrick on the Floor.
Yeah. So we want to get you in a place where Patrick is not on the floor.
Hey, listen, I'm a dad now, so I get the bed. On the floor, kids.
Whenever I was always traveling with large groups, since I made all the travel arrangements, I always claimed a bed for myself. Everyone else fought over what was left in there or slept on the floor. So that was one of the conditions of me booking the trips with my friends. So I guess, first of all, we'll go over the promotion, which is save up to $200 to Puerto Vallarta. Now, this is book by April 15th to get that save up to $200, and that is per package. And
you love Puerto Vallarta.
I do. I love Puerto Vallarta. When we're looking for a larger family, it's really important to make sure you have a room that has the right bedding. So these 3 resorts are ones that I like, that I've stayed at before. These packages are a 5 nights hotel, round trip airfare from Salt Lake City. For our listeners that are outside of Salt Lake City, we can get a price for you. And this is departing October 22nd. The Malia Puerto Vallarta, which is a 4.5-star hotel, the price starts at $1,099 per person.
Oh, wow.
And that room does have 2 queen beds and a bunk bed. The Rio Vallarta, which is a 4.5-star, starts at $1,219 per person. And that is 2 queen beds and 1 double bed. And then the Marival Emotions. This is probably my favorite hotel for families down there. They do a great job with activities for kids. They're really a good family hotel. They're 4.5 stars, starts at $1,349 per person. And theirs is a 2-bedroom with 2 king beds in each bedroom, plus a sofa sleeper.
So that is a genuinely good option if you're going to Mexico.
Yeah. Now, there are several hotels that said they would allow 5. They were 3 and 4 star. They were less expensive. But, these are the ones I would go with. You want your family to have a good experience. Also, again, have the proper bedding.
Well, the thing that I like about this is that it includes airfare, 5 nights hotel, transfers to and from the airport to the hotel, and of course back. That's a big deal. And of course, finding the right bed, like you said.
Yeah. And then they are all inclusive. So all of your meals and drinks. So really a family of 5 could go spend that price and not spend another dime if they didn't want to.
When you don't look forward to going back to the hotel because it's not good, makes all the difference. And when everyone's happy, it just makes for a better vacation, even though it may cost a little more. Everyone comes back happy. It's the quality of the vacation. Go to Mexico. Go to Puerto Vallarta. Sharon, you probably are going to have additional questions. And of course, anyone else who's listening to the show right now, get out, see the world while you can, especially while you've got your family home. That time goes by so quickly. Call Mark in his office. Just get the conversation started. No obligation, of course. 888-718-7717. 888-718-7717. And you can also see this on blueplanetvacations.com. When we come back, it is time for the infamous Just Cruising segment. We will be talking about the Port of New Orleans having a record-breaking year. And of course, we've got 2 cruises with awesome pricing. That is next when the Inside Travel Talk podcast or radio show continues. Alongside Mark Faldmo, my name is Patrick Wiscombe. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your weekend. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
They've literally traveled millions of miles to answer your travel-related questions. Yeah, they really have. You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Patrick and Mark will be back after these messages.
This segment of Inside Travel Talk is sponsored by El Dorado Spa Resorts. Escape to Cancun's Riviera Maya with authentic, all-inclusive luxury at an El Dorado Spa Resort. To book your romantic beach getaway, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com.
Okay, we're back. Welcome back to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. Coming up in the next 28 minutes, we will be talking about 5- and 7-day cruises to Mexico on NCL and Carnival. Sitka, Alaska. They are voting on a cap on cruise ship passengers allowed in their city. Reggae music designed to inspire Caribbean cruising. That is on my playlist literally this next week, Mark.
It is, yep.
And how to book an airport security reservation. Let's get back to the show. The Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, contains travel deals, promotions, and offers that may be time sensitive. All offers and information were accurate when the show aired. Travel deals and offers change constantly and are capacity controlled and subject to change without notice.
Now, back to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Hit us up right now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700, and check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. Here's Patrick and Mark.
Aboard for the infamous Just Cruising segment on the infamous Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. This award-nominated program, at least it is inside of my head. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your weekend each and every Saturday and Sunday morning at 11 o'clock Mountain Time, live here in Salt Lake City. And if you are podcasting the show at a future date, you can just stream the podcast. If you don't want to subscribe, if you're not a podcaster, just go to InsideTravelTalk.com and you just press play. But if you are a podcaster, please take the time to subscribe to the show. Coming up in this segment, of course, we've got the cruise news headlines. This segment is only about cruise news. We've got the cruise deal of the week. We've got 5- and 7-day cruises going to Mexico. We'll detail that. But Mark, let's start with the cruise news headlines. Where do you want to start? Should we go Alaska or should we go Florida?
Let's go Florida.
All right. A Florida county, this is not something you hear every single week on the show, is offering $3 million to sink a cruise ship closer to a tourist hotspot. What's this all about?
It's an old ocean liner, the SS United States, which is a very historic ship. And so they are going to sink it off the coast of Florida in the Panhandle area near Destin, Florida, to be an artificial reef. That area of Florida has lots of dive tourists. So this county is offering them $3 million to move the ship closer to their county so they can get a piece of that dive revenue that comes in there.
Wow.
And right now the ship is in Alabama. They're stripping it of all the metals that can't be sunk. It probably has some asbestos in it too. So they're getting rid of all of that.
Let's get rid of the poison
before it's sunk to become a reef. The SS United States is a historic ocean liner. Even to this day, it still is the fastest passenger ship out there. Made the run from New York to London in record time. Hasn't been beat yet. And it was in service to the late 1960s, but the U.S. military kept it on until the late 80s because it was so fast in case they needed to move troops. Then it was retired. It's had several owners. Interestingly enough, one of those owners was Norwegian Cruise Line. Norwegian Cruise Line, when a U.S., I think it was called U.S. Cruises, went out of business, Norwegian Cruise Line bought one of their ships partially built, which is now the Pride of America. When Norwegian purchased that ship, which is now the Pride of America, they also went and purchased the SS United States because it was a hull that another cruise line could have purchased to compete with them. So they bought any cruise ship that was built in the U.S. still operating so that no one could compete with them. They never brought it into service. Now it's going to be sunk in Florida to become a reef for divers.
It's going to be interesting to follow this. And I realize it's being stripped. I'll just call it parts and poison. It's going to be interesting to see if in just a few years, somewhere between 5 and 10 years, if we start seeing strange fish.
Yes.
We didn't get all the poison, but we start seeing fish with human teeth, just something like that. Something crazy.
Yeah.
Sitka, Alaska residents are voting or will be voting on a cap on the number of cruise ship passengers. When is the vote set and what are the details? What are the numbers?
So the city council just had a meeting this week and they've set the vote for May 30th. So the referendum that's going out is to cap cruise ship traffic to 4,500 cruise passengers per day and 300,000 per year, and also limit cruise traffic to only 6 days a week. So giving them a day free without cruise ship passengers. Now, this is a local advocacy group that is trying to do this. This is actually their fourth attempt to do this. It's never passed the citywide referendum before. Although looking at that, 4,500 cruisers a day, most of the cruise ships that visit there are about 2,500. And I've only ever seen one cruise ship in Sitka before. So I don't know how this will actually affect it, although that yearly cap of 300,000 could affect that, because pre-COVID, the highest number of passengers Sitka saw was 290,000 cruisers. Last year, they had 585,000 cruisers.
Oh, wow.
And so they're just getting one cruise ship a day, where before they were getting 2 to 3 cruise ships a week. They're just getting more cruise ships there. So even that daily cap, there are not many days when they go over that anyway.
Okay, I've got my reggae remix. It's being released to inspire Caribbean cruising.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just turn it off.
Yeah.
What's all of this about?
MSC Cruises. This is just in time for the launch of the World America, which you'll be on in about 2 weeks' time. I'll be on in about 2 weeks. They have released a playlist on Spotify. They've taken songs from Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, the Beatles, Madonna, and reggae-ized them. So they've remixed them and covered them to reggae.
So we will hear this probably on the ship then.
On the ship, yeah. If you want to hear some of these songs, just go to Spotify and type in MSC Holiday Playlist, and it should come up for you. Research has shown that music can influence people's travel choices. Here Comes the Sun is the one they did by the Beatles.
Here comes the sun.
Yeah.
Here comes the sun, baby. Watermelon sugar. Just like that, I killed the travel industry. They will not want to go on the ship with me.
Go to Spotify and find the playlist. I've listened to it. It's pretty good. Does make you want to travel, which is the whole purpose of that playlist.
Let's get to the cruise deal of the week, always in the infamous Just Cruising segment. We're taking off from New Orleans. So the main port here is getting from Salt Lake City, only because we do the show from here, to New Orleans. What are the details on the cruise deal of the week?
First, we'll start off with the Port of New Orleans had a record-breaking 2024. They had 1.2 million cruise guests come through there. And that was both ocean and river, because New Orleans is the starting point for ocean cruises as well as Mississippi River cruises. Carnival Cruise Lines has a ship based there year-round. And then in the wintertime, they bring in a second ship to do cruises from New Orleans. They've actually are celebrating their 30th year of sailing Caribbean cruises from New Orleans. And then Norwegian Cruise Line has a ship that sails out of New Orleans seasonally. So during the cold winter, starts in, I think, late November and cruises through March. So for today, we're just going to talk about the ocean going cruises. You can do 4 to 8 day sailings from New Orleans. I had buffalo alligator there.
Oh,
so so you get some exotic foods too.
wow. Buffaloed alligator.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It tasted like chewy chicken.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the cruise deal of the week. Let's start with the 5-day cruise on Carnival Velour.
Yeah. So these are all cruises in January. So this 5-day cruise, it's on the Carnival Valor.
Oh, not even Velour.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Carnival Valor.
Valor. Yeah. And an inside cabin starts at $479 per person, and a balcony cabin starts at $714 per person.
Jeez.
This cruise, it has 2 ports. It goes to Cozumel, spends a full day in Cozumel, and then it spends a full day in Progreso. Progreso is the port near Merida, Mexico, and it's the closest port to go visit Chichen Itza. So that's what a lot of cruise guests do there, because it's a shorter drive from Progreso as compared to when you do it from Cancun. It's a 4-hour drive on that. So, and then, also one thing I didn't say is New Orleans is quite a ways upriver from the Gulf. And so you do get a little bit Mississippi River cruise. You get a couple hours of cruising on the Mississippi.
See, I've always thought that New Orleans was right on the Gulf. I didn't know that it was that far in.
It's inland a little bit.
What's the 7-day cruise?
Yeah, so the 7-day cruise is on the Norwegian Escape. Its ports are Cozumel, Harvest Cay, which is their private island in Belize, Roatan, which we've talked about the last couple of weeks, I think a few times. It's been on a lot of the cruise itineraries we've talked about. And then Costa Maya. It's a Western Caribbean cruise, but goes a little bit further south than a lot of the typical cruises. So that cruise starts at $729 for an inside cabin and $989 for a balcony cabin.
What are the dates on that one?
That one was January 11th of 2026. Now is a good time to start planning next winter's escape from the cold.
Call Mark to get down to New Orleans. Get down, go to Mexico. Book those vacations directly with Mark. Just get the conversation started. You'll obviously have some questions. No obligation. Just get the conversation started. 888-718-7717. 888-718-7717. And Mark will also post this on blueplanetvacations.com. When we come back, real headlines. Everyone will remember this. London's Heathrow Airport had a massive fire. We're going to talk about travel insurance. And I think the airport has opened. Is that correct, Mark?
It has opened, yes.
We'll also talk about how to book a airport security reservation. Kind of tricky, kind of time consuming as well. That is next when the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show continues. My name is Patrick Wiscombe. He is Mark Faldmo. We will be right back.
Explore your world. You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show now. 801-649-3700. 801-649-3700. We'll be right back.
This segment of Inside Travel Talk is sponsored by Starkippers. For over 30 years, Starkippers has offered unique, authentic tall ship sailing experiences featuring creative itineraries throughout the Mediterranean, Caribbean, and Central America. To book your unique Star Clipper sailing adventure, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com.
They'll help you plan and book your next vacation. Yeah, really. You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700. And now, here's Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
Welcome back to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. Thank you so much for allowing me and Mark. What's the correct grammar? Mark and I, me and Mark, to be part of your weekend.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm a little excited to go on vacation right now? It feels like let's just get through the segment and then I'm in full vacation mode.
Yeah.
Coming up in this segment of the show, in fact, let's just start with this. We've got the travel news headlines. We'll also be talking about how to book an airport security reservation. Let's start with what happened in London. This was a big deal. What was this? Monday, Tuesday, late last week, something.
This happened last Friday.
London's Heathrow Airport. There was a massive fire. Now, it wasn't in the airport, but it was off-site at the power plant, if memory serves.
Yes, it was the power plant that serves Heathrow, which shut the whole airport down.
And it was a big mess. And I don't know how many flights were canceled. It's got to be in the, at least 1,000 flights. It's probably more than that.
Probably close to that. I know British Airways said they had about 700 flights canceled just British Airways.
Wow.
So all the other airlines that fly in there is probably close to 1,000 or just over 1,000 total flights that were affected.
So this is not intended to be a sales pitch at all. We're just going to talk about travel insurance. And before your eyes glaze over, this is the perfect situation. You never know what's going to happen. But let's talk about how travel insurance would have or is probably helping someone who had a London flight booked.
Working, yeah. First of all, no one purchases insurance of any kind wanting to use it.
Yeah.
You know, insurance is for those emergencies, those unexpected things that happen, and especially in travel insurance or travel protection on this. It took Heathrow 2 to 3 days to get back up to full flights. When this happens, airplanes are out of position, not able to do flights at the same time. So there are several, probably 1,000 people that had forced overnights. Now, a situation like this was not anything in the airline's control. And so the airline is not responsible to pay for hotels, missed connections, anything like that. And that's where travel insurance comes into place. If you had to spend an additional night or two, travel insurance will pay for your hotels. Travel insurance will give you food allowance if you need luggage because your luggage didn't make it. So if you need to buy some clothes, toiletries, different things like that, travel insurance will cover for that. Insurance is worth it.
Let's move on. Let's talk about how to book an airport security reservation. Now, is this clear or is this just airport security? Are we talking about TSA pre? What are we talking about here?
Well, this is a program by Clear. This was sent in by one of our listeners, Mark.
Not you.
He said this was a good talk. Yeah, not me. A good topic to talk about, which it is. This is called Clear Reserve. This is a free program. It's operated by Clear, but it has nothing to do with Clear or PreCheck or Global Entry, anything like that. There are 20 airports where you can go on, and through this program by Clear, you can reserve the time that you go through security.
Oh, okay.
The first place this started is an airport that definitely needs something like that, which is Orlando Airport. You can get there and the security line can be an hour and a half. I've seen it as long as 2 hours at some point.
You're talking about MCO Orlando. And you're talking about the terminal coming out of the hotel to get into the airport, literally in the lobby?
Yes.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah,
so I lucked out then.
Even the TSA pre-check lines can be pretty long at that airport. Now, this program, if you have pre-check, it doesn't work with pre-check. If you use this, then you have to take your electronics out and you have to go through normal security screening.
Right.
But it's available at 20 airports worldwide. In the US, it's available at Denver Airport, Los Angeles Airport, Minneapolis, JFK in New York, and Newark Liberty in Newark, New Jersey, Orlando, Phoenix, Sky Harbor, and Seattle Tacoma Airport. In Europe, this program is available in Amsterdam, Berlin, Frankfurt, Hanover, London, and Rome. And then in Canada, at Calgary, Edmonton, Halifax, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver.
If I've got this right, Clear Reserve is to how to book an airport security reservation. And that's free.
Correct.
Okay.
It's free. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So now it doesn't operate all times during the day, just at the peak times at those airports. So you can go in and say, I want to go through security at 5:30. You can reserve it, and then you can go through. It's basically kind of a jump you to the front of the line service that they have. It is limited so that they can guarantee your time through. So if a time slot sold out, a time slot will get sold out. But it is a great way to kind of help plan your trip so you don't spend an hour waiting in the security line.
Let's go over the various security options. There's TSA pre, and the process to get TSA pre, how much was it? Was it $70 for like 5 years, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's $75 for 5 years.
And you go to tsa.gov. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's tsa.gov is where you go to.
Yeah, tsa.gov, and then you can click on the pre-check and sign up for pre-check.
Yeah, okay. tsa.gov, apply, renew. Okay, I'm looking at the website right now. Now, just for conversation, let's transition over to customs, which is global entry, which includes TSA pre, which is what we were just talking about. But global entry is for what, and who's the ideal candidate for that one?
That will get you through U.S. Customs coming back to the U.S. So if you take a lot of international trips, global entry is what you'll want to get, because it comes with both TSA pre-check and the global entry to get you through customs and immigration.
So international, if you're doing a lot of international, that is ideal. But if you're just want to skip the line, get through there quickly, you're talking about TSA pre. So what is clear then? Which is what we were just kind of talking about, but it's to reserve your place in line going to the airport. What's clear, generally speaking?
Clear is a paid program. It's similar to TSA. They use biometrics to get you through. I've started seeing Clear has two lines, Clear with TSA pre-check.
Yeah.
And regular Clear. And those basically, if you have Clear, it'll jump you ahead, depending on the airport, but kind of ahead of the TSA pre-check people. So Clear is a private company that's cleared to do security screening, and there are Clear lines at sporting events. A lot of the NBA, NFL, Major League arenas have Clear lines. So you basically can just walk through without going through the regular security protocols.
We should have done this in the infamous Just Cruising segment, but we wanted to talk about cruise ship mistakes to avoid. We've got a few minutes here. Let's go through this list.
Yeah, so there are a couple of items on this list. One is booking your cruise too late.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be that you could book and get last-minute cruise deals. Those are less and less available. Most cruise lines put their best fares out when that ship goes for sale 2 years in advance.
Yeah.
And then the prices slightly go up. They do have some ways to fill cabins if they need to, but very rarely do they go below that first initial offering price. So don't wait too long. If you want to go on a cruise, it's probably best that you just book it right when you decide you want to go on the cruise, because chances are the price is only going to go up.
Just for conversation purposes only, what happens if you've booked a ship and all of a sudden, because they need to fill ship space, for whatever reason, a particular date isn't selling? And that does happen. What if you paid, I'll just say $1,000 just to keep it simple, and all of a sudden they advertise your same room, same category, everything is the same for $900? How does a cruise ship remedy that situation?
So if you're outside of penalty, now the cruise lines don't like to do this, but if you're outside of penalty, you can always cancel it and rebook the cabin. But what they'll do in many cases, if it does go down, a lot of them do have the low price guarantee, where if that price goes down in your specific category, they will give you an onboard credit. So they'll make it up to you by giving you money to spend on board.
Who, in your opinion, which cruise line has the best loyalty program?
I think it's a tie. I would go with Princess Cruises. I think has the best loyalty program, or Norwegian. Both of those offer you significant things on board, like, free specialty dining, free internet minutes. So I think those two have the best. I would lean towards Princess myself, but I do like the free specialty meals that come on Norwegian.
That's going to do it. Vacation Patrick is officially in motion as soon as I get off the air.
Yeah. Have a good cruise. Have a good cruises, as I should say.
Back to back to back to back, baby. You can listen to this show again tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. right here on this radio station. And of course, you can stream, download, and subscribe to the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. If you don't want to subscribe, you can just literally stream the show on InsideTravelTalk.com. Just go to the latest show, just press play, and you'll get to hear the sultry voices of Patrick and Mark. If you want to book any of the vacations that we've talked about here for the past hour, call Mark in his office. No obligation. Get the conversation started. 888-718-7717. 888-718-7717. It is now your turn to get out and explore the world while you can, because you never know what curveballs life is going to throw at you. Live your life deliberately. Live your life intentionally. Thank you so much for listening. Really, thank you. We don't have a show without you. We'll talk to you again next week.
That's it. That's the end of the show. You've been listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show with Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. Book your adventure right now. Call 888-718-7717. That's 888-718-7717. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Inside Travel Talk is brought to you by Travelex Insurance Services. Their travel insurance plans can help protect you and your vacation. Travelex is known for their award-winning customer service and high claims paid rate. Contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com for more information.